Hi, I'm Abby. I am a 9/11 widow, and I have bought a chateau in France where I host retreats. I thought that I would tell my story, my 9/11 stories, of which I have many, in an effort to, I don't know, educate or inspire a younger generation who maybe doesn't know very much about 9/11 and how that affected real life people like me and my kids and, well, obviously my husband. It began obviously on a Sunday, Tuesday morning. My husband got up probably around 6 o'clock in the morning, got dressed, left. I think we had a quick goodbye. I fell back asleep. Then weirdly, he came back 5 minutes later. He was a little bit angry at me because I had apparently let him leave in a really bad outfit. So he changed his pants and presented me with an option of 2 ties, one yellow, one red, which was very unusual because he always said how much he hated my taste in ties. So we let go, and that would be the last time I saw him. I got up, got my kids ready, got them dressed, got them fed, and it was my 6-year-old daughter's second day of first grade. My son was 2 and sort of hanging on my hip. And about 2 minutes before the bus was about to arrive, we were about to leave the house, the phone rang, and it was Aaron. And he was saying, Ab, are you there? Are you there? And he obviously couldn't hear me, but I could hear him fine. So he rang off and then called me right back and just said, Ab, there's been a bomb. I'm in New York. You've got to call 911. I was flustered because I'm very conscious that now the bus is imminent, and I can't figure out why he can't call 911, why I'm calling 911, but I agree to call, and I just go, okay. And I kind of make him feel probably like he's a little bit crazy, which I thought he was. So we rang off, and as I'm walking out the door, I have the cordless phone in my hand, and I'm dialing 911. And as we're walking to the bus, I'm aware that I'm talking to New Jersey police and not New York police. I don't know what to say. I'm just sort of saying, yeah, so my husband called. He says he's at Windows of the World in the World Trade Center and that I needed to call 911. So I'm calling you guys. And they were sort of nonplussed. They just said, okay, thank you, ma'am. We'll call NYPD and we'll call you back. And so I have the cordless. I have my daughter, and I'm trying to get her to walk the 50 feet to the bus stop, but I'm worried they're going to call me back when I'm out of range with the cell phone. We sort of jog lightly over to the bus stop just as it pulls up, and she's getting on the bus, and she turns around and says, Mama, who is on the phone? I just sort of said blasé, like, it's your dad. He says there's a bomb in New York. Okay, bye. I guess I really still, like, the magnitude hadn't sunk in at all. As I get closer to the house, the phone rings, and it's New Jersey Dispatch again, and they were like, okay, ma'am, we've called NYPD. It seems a plane has hit the building. We suggest you go inside and turn on your TV. I'm like, oh, that's pretty bad. Plane hitting the building. But I'm thinking a Cessna, little plane. So still my son on my hip. I go inside, turn on the TV. I turn it on, and it's just in time to see the second plane hit the second building. And I think I just swore quite a lot. I think I sank down to the floor, put my son on the ground, and just sat in front of the TV. And then everything on the TV went black. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, Aaron, you're in like Towering Inferno. All I could think about was that movie, Towering Inferno, which is this 70s movie about basically a huge fire that happens in a massive high rise. And people are trying to escape, and it doesn't go well for most. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is what's happening right now. So I immediately start dialing his cell phone number. And I just keep getting voice stream. Occasionally I get his voicemail, and I'm just, like, call me, what's happening? Are you okay? Et cetera. And in there somewhere, I call his mom, who lives in Toronto. I just get her voicemail, and I just say, call me. Oh my God, call me. Like, I couldn't say on a voicemail what was going on. I'm flipping channels at this point, trying to find more footage. And a little bit comes, but I know that in my mind, having seen how that second plane hit the second building, I just think there's no way it came in at such a level in the building where I thought, honestly, the top was going to fall off. And God knows who it was going to hurt on the ground when it did. But I knew that the building was going to be unstable. It was such a big event. And I knew that it was really, really that bad. So after that, I kind of lost track. I think one of the nannies at the bus stop had seen me and had put two and two together. And so she came over and took my son next door where she worked so that he could play with the kid that she babysat for. And so I was just kind of there on my own. And I'm watching TV, and all of a sudden, the first building starts to fall. And at the same time, my phone rings, and it's Aaron's mom. And I'm just yelling, going, turn on your TV, the building's falling. Like, I'm just losing my shit. And I'm saying a lot of swear words in this exchange. So then throughout the day, the guy that I'd spoken to in the morning at New Jersey Dispatch kept calling me. He called me like every hour on the hour. It turned out his name was Officer Wyatt, which I will never forget because all I could think of was, what is he? Is he a cowboy? I don't know. Officer Wyatt? I don't know. And we together were trying to figure out where Windows of the World was. Was it in the first building? Was it in the second building? Was it in the first building that fell? Was it at the top? Was it in the middle? Was it? No idea. And I couldn't get through to my husband's office. So my husband was there, as it turned out, at a trade show. He was at Windows of the World, the restaurant, which was on the 106th floor. So pretty much at the very top of building number 1, the north building that was the first to fall. No, it was the second to fall. First to fall was the one that, building 2, which got hit more in the middle. Eventually, I got through to his company, and that's how I learned all that, where he was in the building and whatnot. I know also from finally talking to his business, his company, he worked for a company that was in Midtown, and he was at a trade show for the day. He worked in financial middleware, so it was a trade show that was put on by a company called Risk Waters, and he was planning to be there all day. So we know from a phone call that his company had with one of the guys that he was there with, we knew that they had been ushered into a sort of a fireproof room that was supposed to protect them from fire. It turned out, of course, that it was not smoke proof. I'm unsure I think they had tried to open the door to get up to the roof since they were so close on the 106th floor, but they hadn't been able to do that. So we knew that. And that was about it. And then we didn't hear from anybody after that. And we know from subsequent, there's 102 Minutes. It's a book that's been put out by New York Times reporters that kind of tracks the timeline. So we know that by 9:30, which is about when the second building fell, was that there was no communication. So it was pretty much assumed that most of the people had been overcome by probably smoke inhalation, which I guess is small comfort. Obviously, there had also been a lot of people who had either jumped or fallen. They also knew that all of the windows in Windows of the World at that point had been broken. So we imagine that there was probably efforts to get more oxygen. After that, I just, sat really outside on my porch for most of the day. People would come and linger. We'd all sort of laugh and talk about the fact that Aaron could get himself out of any situation with, a roll of duct tape. He was a MacGyver. Turned out that didn't happen.